Hi everyone and welcome. Our guest today, you may have seen him on Oprah's Super Soul Sunday. He founded thedailylove.com where he serves soulful inspiration to our generation. Please welcome Mastin Kipp. Thank you so much for being here.
It's a pleasure to be here. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So your mission is to connect people to what makes them happy. Why do you think people focus on the negative? Does our culture tend to celebrate the negative?
That's a great question. So, I'm a college dropout, but I was raised in a family of scientists. My dad has a PhD in biology, and I'm fascinated by how things work. Mm-hmm. And one of the things I realized about human beings is that, when you look at like news headlines, or you look at reality television, or you look at like the things that we tend to focus on in the news, I ask myself, like, why do we do that? Because most of the people I meet are well-intended, great people. I'm a well-intended, great person, but even I, like when there's an accident on the road, you look at it, you know what I mean? So it's like, and the answer that I found is that we're hardwired to tend to survive and avoid pain rather than seek pleasure, because in our nervous system, because our nervous system is the same as it's been for a long period of time, even though our technology has, continued to innovate, year after year, we're designed to survive. And so the reason why we tend to focus on maybe the negative or things that are not in the direction of what we want is because that's how we've survived. If there's a fire in the house, you're not looking at if there's a beautiful rainbow outside. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
So it's like that's how we're designed, but we don't have practices to realize that I'm safe, I'm good. Like we still, there's this whole new science that's evolving called epigenetics, which states that basically we can inherit memory, trauma, and a whole belief system through our cells from our family. So in the concept of family karma is actually starting to be proved by science. Wow. So there are things that you could be afraid of, that your grandmother was afraid of, that you didn't even choose to be afraid of, that just gets passed down through many generations, which is why when I look at the work that you guys are doing, the work that we're doing, all of our contemporaries are doing, I feel like we're like putting like this big break on, generations of thinking that we're going to die, basically, if anything uncertain happens. And it's literally not just your fault or my fault. And so we just haven't learned collectively yet that all is well. Part of the reason why is because in many cases, all is not well. There are a lot of things happening in the world that are still, medieval practices. And so there is a real threat out there. And, when you think about the things that are reported on the nightly news, it's very shocking and very scary. So we're constantly being inundated with all this information about the negativity out there, and that's triggering our fight or flight response, and we tend to focus on that.
With your business being about a product that people could find for free if they wanted to, but like you said, you're here to shorten that learning curve. How did you find the value in what you do to charge for it?
I love this question. Yeah. If there's one myth I could bust for people who want to be coaches or sign up for a program, it's this idea that to be spiritual, I have to be broke, or that I shouldn't charge for things. We have Google. Any philosophy, teaching, book, whatever you want is available online. So if you want to study Christianity, Buddhism, you want to study IIN, the information is out there in blog posts. You can figure out, I gotta drink more water, increase greens, all of that is there. Chris Carr's written books on it. There's so much content out there. But what we do when it's one-on-one is it's not about the content. It's about the perspective. And that's kind of how I see coaches and doing what I do. What people pay for when they work with me isn't the information. They pay for the perspective that's just taken me decades to acquire, hundreds of thousands of dollars to invest in my own learning, and I continue to, the circle of people that I'm now in is at like the top level in this space, so the perspective is valuable. Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
And so and then also, I started small. Like my first thing that I charged for was a $35 product. We have $12,000 products now. But I would slowly start to believe in myself and start to see the results that people would get, and that would, really inspire me to raise the price. But and we always offer scholarships. We always include people, and we've had people who have gotten scholarships from us that now buy the $10,000 product. So we have people cycle through our system that way. And also we send out 7 free emails a week with the best content. We do a Daily Love TV YouTube episode with great coaching content on there. So we give away tons of free stuff. Like we're there, but if you want the perspective and you want the experience, we have to pay for that.
So for those of you who may not be familiar with how Mastin got his start, it was a famous tweet by Kim Kardashian that really launched your business. So, pre-tweet, what was your business and life plan like?
I was couch surfing at the time. I was living with my ex-girlfriend's parents in a pool house, and I had decided about 2 months before that to go all in on the Daily Love. Before that, I was a music manager. I could have very easily gone back into the music business and had a thriving financial side, but I decided I didn't want to do that. So I chose to be there. It wasn't like poor me. I was like, you're gonna go pay your dues. And I see something like Kim and what she did, or like what Oprah has done for me, as a response to having the courage. And I'm not saying that if you have the courage, she's gonna tweet about you. But what I am saying is, if you have the courage to step out and like really mean it, the universe will orchestrate itself in such a way that will support your path for your curriculum.
Absolutely.
And I get asked all the time, will you be my Kim Kardashian? And I'm like, that's not the point. The point is you have to follow your own path. Like, I didn't ask Kim to do that. I didn't ask Oprah to, I didn't ask for any of that. It came as a response to what I put out. I'm still shocked by it.
Of course.
I'm still like, why do you care?
Yeah.
Because for me, it's just me, But it's also been this consistency. But I've never really had a business plan. I still don't really have one. My intention has always, I never set out to be like I get called a celebrity, which is weird to me, because it's like, that's a very, I come from Hollywood, that's not why I do what I do at all. What we do here is we're here to, help people connect back to what makes them happy, help them take courageous action and do things that they're afraid of. But that seems to be on trend right now. So that has nothing to do with me. But what I do see is I see a lot of people who see what I'm doing, or Marie or Gabby or Chris Carr, Danielle, and they want to be like a famous life coach or something like that. And I'm like, that's weird to me. What you should be focused on is, how can I serve people? How can I create an emotional connection? How can I understand my community so well that I create products, programs, blogs, and content that actually meets them where they're at and it helps inspire them, and let go of all the needs for significance, for money, for fame, all that type of stuff, because it's so not about that. And really serve, and that's always been my intention.
You achieve your mission. Everyone in the world, is connected to their happy place. What does the world look like?
I don't think it's that different, actually. I think it looks like someone leaving a toxic relationship when they know it's time, rather than holding on because they're scared. I think it looks like someone really starting that business even though they're scared to do it. I think it looks like someone saying, I love you, and not being cool about it. I mean, I don't think it's like this huge Garden of Eden thing. I just think it's like just little tiny things.
A little more bravery.
And I think that's really it, because I think there's always going to be fear. That's not a bad thing. There's always going to be things that we're uncertain about. So there's always going to be fear. But I think it's about having a little bit more of a acceptance around it, rather than trying to make fear like the new devil, which I think has happened in our community. And I think that if people did that, I think you'd see more fulfilled individuals. And I think more fulfilled individuals is the best way to influence all kinds of policies and reforms, because you can change the rules all you want, but if the people making it are at a certain level of fulfillment that's not really sustainable, holistic, and long-term, it doesn't really matter.
When you say it like that, it's much easier to receive, and I think something that I've also noticed in the coaching industry, that from the client side, it's really hard to sign up for a coaching program when the message is, we're going to change your life and things are going to be so different, because you're kind of like, I don't know that I want to change it. I just want things to be a little bit better. So when you speak with that message of, it's just a little bit of this, it's just a little bit of that, it's so much easier to walk into a program and understand, I'm going to take this up a level, but it's not going to be like the dam is breaking and all the water comes through.
Yeah, that's right. And sometimes the dam needs to break, but most of the time it's like, go to the gym instead of having a Snicker bar. It's not some dramatic
it's the little
thing.
modifications that make a huge difference.
Yeah, it's amazing how far I'm sorry goes, rather than just trying to dodge. I mean, it's just those little tiny things.
Yeah, absolutely. And what's really cool for me, what I'm noticing is that I'm in the industry and totally have the same philosophy that you do, but just hearing how you speak about it actually makes me feel really relaxed.
Yeah.
And open to the idea.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and so I just appreciate so much your word choice, and your messaging, and what you've presented to our students, and what you give to the world.
Thank you so much. That means a lot.
Yeah, thank you, Mastin.
Yeah, it's my pleasure. Thanks a lot.
All right, everyone. If you'd like to watch more interviews with Integrative Nutrition's visiting teachers, please subscribe, and thanks for watching.
The big debate? Whether or not to label foods as GMOs, so consumers can then make their own decisions as to whether they want to consume genetically engineered foods. If the FDA has approved genetically modified foods as safe, why are consumers so concerned? Well, mostly health.